Welcome to She Coaches Coaches. I'm your host, Candy Motzek, and I'm going to help you find the clarity, confidence, and courage to become the coach that you are meant to be. If you're a new coach, or if you've always wanted to be a life coach, then this is the place for you. We're going to talk all about mindset and strategies and how to, because step by step only works when you have the clarity, courage, and confidence to take action. Let's get started. Hey everyone, and welcome again to She Coaches Coaches. Today is a special guest episode. I have my client, Meg Edwards, here with me on Zoom. We're going to have a conversation. Now, you guys know that when I do one of these guest episodes, I love to read the person's bio and then tell you a little bit about them, just my perspective on them. But today I'm going to do it different. So, like I said, Meg is one of my clients. And you know that one of the reasons that I do these episodes is I love to give my clients a place where you can hear them. You can hear the kinds of gifts they have, the things that they do, how they work with clients to support them and their business growth. But it also supports you and I, because then you hear, oh, she's a really interesting person. Boy, that would be fun to work with Candy, or I'd like to reach out to Meg. So here you go. Let me tell you a little bit about Meg. I don't know if she knows, but I spend our coaching calls listening and watching. And there are a couple of words that I always think of when I get on Zoom with Meg. And the first one is joy. She has such a lightness and a sweetness about her, and such a kind, caring, smart individual. If I was to characterize her, I would say she is like spring. Like those fresh flowers in spring. You know, the ones where you go outside and you know spring has started and the birds are just starting to sing. And then there's that hint of a flower. There's that scent on the air. Well, that is what Meg is like. So I'm just telling you my thoughts on her. Now, let me read you her official bio. And then we're going to have a conversation. And you're going to get to know her as well. So Meg Edwards is a well-being life coach. She helps successful women who feel drained and burned out figure out what they really love so they can create a life of purpose, meaning, and joy. She founded the Integrated Heart to help women elevate their holistic well-being and live a life they love. She has a wonderful 12-week program called Your Well-Being Coaching Program, and she guides her clients through positive life transformation with coaching, activities, and practices that bring clarity, balance, peace, and confidence. Meg is a Chopra certified well-being coach, a meditation teacher, an Ayurvedic lifestyle health teacher, and she's also been a psychology professor for 14 years. She's a mom, she's a wife, she loves quiet mornings, her dog, labyrinth walks, and finding joy. You hear that joy over and over and over again here. She is committed to bringing ease and freedom and authenticity into all areas of her life. And by doing so, she supports others as well. So Meg, welcome to She Coaches Coaches. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you, Candy. I loved hearing your reflections on our coaching sessions. Thank you. That's so sweet.
Yeah, right. And doesn't that remind you, like, I don't know, what do you think? Is that sort of like your favorite time of the year too?
Yeah, I live for spring and summer. Those are my favorite. With the sun and the flowers and the scents. And I even posted a video on Instagram of a bee. I watched a bee on a flower. So there you go. I recorded it. The awe of a bee, flying around in my garden.
Yeah, totally. I get it. It's funny because I coach in my she shed, as you know, and so often I'm sitting here and outside of my window in the summertime, I have a whole bunch of hostas and they have these really long flowers. And there's lots of times that the bees are just like, they spend all day there on those flowers. It's amazing. It's so cool to see, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I love it.
So let's talk a little bit about you and your journey to being a coach. So most coaches that I know have something that happened. Like, and I say something, and it's kind of in quotation marks. And it's something in their life, and it was this spark to decide that you wanted to be a coach. Sometimes it's a challenge, sometimes it's an issue, who knows? But what about you? Does this sound like a similar impetus for you? Tell me your story.
I think life was the impetus to becoming a coach. That was my first thought when you were starting to ask that. But really, it came about specifically in pandemic. And I think I had just turned, maybe 47. And I had this thought, what am I going to do for the rest of my life? Am I going to continue just to teach adjunct psychology classes and stress management classes? And would that be fulfilling to me? And I don't believe in this prescribed retirement age. So I knew I wanted to do something where I could be of service, but also have it be meaningful and fulfilling to me. And, as synchronicity would have it, a week later, I received an email from Chopra Global, that they were launching a well-being coaching program. And I thought, this is how I can give. This is meant for me. It wasn't even a decision in my mind. It was a decision in my heart. I never questioned it. I just knew that was it. And it was something about the word being that I've been fascinated with since having my daughter 14 years ago. And the shift of being a human doer to a human being was inspired by her, because children, babies, toddlers, they expect nothing of you, and completing your to-dos and checking off all the things that need to get done for the day does not serve them. But what does is just being with them. And I realized I wasn't really sure how to just be with her. And I was always fascinated by that. How do I just be? Because I was really good at doing. Yeah. But she just wanted me to be. So there's something about being. And then I had a personal experience with Chopra in 2015, where I went on a retreat and I learned primordial sound meditation, and I discovered a purpose in my life. And it really changed the way I was being in the world. So I had this profound personal experience with Chopra. And then to have that thought when I turned 47 of what's next for me in these next decades of my life, and then a week later to get that email, that was the impetus for coaching.
Yeah. So interesting. And I love how you described this about, essentially it's the, what am I going to be when I grow up question. And that happens for us at different parts of our life. Like usually it happens as a teenager, when you're in high school and somebody says, what are you going to do after you graduate? But I know that I spent a lot of time, even though I was outwardly successful, I checked all the boxes, but I still had that thought almost every day, literally, what do I want to be when I grow up? Who do I want to be? What do I want to do? And so such a universal question, right? I love it. And I also love how you talked about having your daughter and how that helped you to, learn how to be. That is funny. Our kids are some of our best teachers, right?
Oh, absolutely. And she was my mirror for a lot of personal development that I had an opportunity to step into if I chose to, which I did. I think in my life up until that point, all of my pain points, I could always point to someone else and say it was on them. It was their issue. It was their problem. And then having this new baby and still experiencing the same issues in relationship to how am I a mom? I knew it wasn't her. She's perfect. She's absolutely perfect. So it was definitely a mirror that, these themes of perfectionism, these themes of overwhelm, and just struggling with coping skills, with anxiety. That's you. That's yours to carry. It's not the other person's. So Yeah, she's very much, I would always say, my greatest teacher.
Wonderful. And there's, and you said it's not her, she's perfect, right? And I mean, I've got children as well. They're adults. And I remember that. I remember looking at them when they were little babies or toddlers or whatever and feeling the same way and having those same thoughts. And you were that too.
Yes.
So at what point did you sort of forget that you're completely whole and capable and just 100% worthy, right? Somehow along the way, we kind of forget that. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think that's our life's work, is remembering that, because it does get forgotten through conditioning and layers of what we've heard other people say about us, beliefs we've come to have about ourselves. And so that's a lot of coaching too, is helping women. For me, my clients are women, remember their wholeness and that they are perfect and resilient and no fixing needed, but uncovering the layers to remember that.
Yeah. Just remember just that. Yeah. And there's this word remember is interesting because, when you look at what it really means, it's like remember. It's like bringing your parts back, reclaiming those parts that were already yours. It's kind of cool.
Absolutely. Coming back to our true self.
Yeah. Super cool. So next question. What do you love most about coaching?
I love the deep one-on-one connection that arises with my clients, with the women I work with, and helping them envision their most optimal state of well-being, their highest self, their best self, and also then getting to show up as my best self and helping guide them to create positive transformation in their life, knowing that there's a ripple effect for that as well, that when they show up as their highest self and elevate their well-being, everybody in their life benefits from it. Their family, their friends, coworkers, neighbors, their community. And so the ripple effect keeps going. And so for me, coaching is absolutely a spiritual practice. It's one that reminds me of our common humanity, how alike we all are. And so it's easy to bring compassion and empathy and love even to my clients and the challenges that they're facing, because we all have this human experience and have challenges in similar ways, even though they may look different for each individual. There are definitely universal themes. And so, yeah, I love that connection and their aha moments. When it's just a simple little shift in maybe the way they looked at something, or a powerful question I may have asked, or just they remembered something. And what's awesome about that is it's an honor to watch the aha moment, but also to witness that it happens effortlessly for them and for me, that there is this effortlessness to transformation. It's almost like magic. And that transformation aspect. And so coaching is very much a spiritual practice for me. And I love the connection that I get to form with my clients.
I love that. So profound. And yes, 100 times yes to the ripple effect. And it started with you, right? Like you did your own work. You did the primordial sound training, and I'm sure many other things that got you to this point in your life where now, this is sort of that next iteration of your impact on the world, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I always wonder who did their work that you were the ripple of, right? That you were the ripple recipient, right?
So many. You are one of them.
Oh,
and yeah, every day I reflect on that in my morning practice, and extending gratitude to all the souls who've helped me on my spiritual journey. currently and of past. So it's a long list. It's a very long list, but you are
that
definitely
gratitude
on
practice
it.
can take up days, right? My morning gratitude practice. Oh, took 24 hours. Darn, have to start again.
Totally.
What do you think is possible for somebody with coaching? Like, what are some of the transformations that you've seen, and what do you think is possible for them?
Well, I think what's possible for coaches is that there's no one set model of how to do coaching. It's very individualized. And what coaching requires is that you are continually referring to yourself to discern what's best for you. So, what kind of coach do you want to be? What's your niche? What kind of clients do you want to work with? There's no one size fits all. And that's why working with you has been so impactful, because it has allowed me to explore those themes from my point of view. What feels joyful for me? What feels good to me? But transformation can look like a lot of different things. I think it's transforming what we believe is possible and stepping into the infinite possibilities. That with our conditioning and our lack of remembering, we tend to be a little laser focused on possibilities, possible solutions, outcomes. And so coaching allows you to widen your lens and see different perspectives, these little shifts in your life that, when added up, create big change in a person's daily life and how they're taking care of themselves. So with me in particular, in my type of coaching, transformation could look a lot of different ways. It could be resolving a certain challenge you're having in your life, maybe because there's a transition. I have clients who are taking care of their aging parents as well as their own aging children, as they move into high school and college. And that transition can be difficult. There could be a life transition because you're moving to a different state to support your partner. So it could be these life transitions that are creating a challenge, and a certain amount of drain and burnout with where you currently are. It's what you were referring to earlier. I did this, and this. I followed what I was supposed to do, in air quotes, based off what culture told me. And it's not bringing me the fulfillment that I thought it would. And I've been delaying my happiness. And I notice I still delay my happiness. I'm overwhelmed with anxiety, the whirlwind of thoughts going on in my mind. And I can't quite seem to get to that place of peace or contentment. So the transformation can also look like a knowingness that happiness can be now, that joy can be found now, that we don't need to wait for something else to happen, especially outside of ourselves, which we don't control, but it can happen within ourselves. And that's what I help guide women towards, is that space where they can connect once again with their true selves, remember what it is they love, what brings them joy, and take the steps to find it right now.
Yeah.
Every day, and practices and tools to bring that in to their daily life.
Yeah. And it's in that every day, right? So it's like, remember what they want. Like lots of women have even forgotten that they had a desire, right? And so to remember what they want, to believe that they can actually do it, claim it, that it's possible for them. And then that these transformations could just be in the way you experience every moment of every day, right? Like kind of that be happy now.
Yeah. And the being now and accepting it when it's not happy. And so that's a lot of the transformation too, is helping women accept their emotions, process their emotions, things that we were not taught to do. Yeah. It's a skill that can be learned, but if you don't know it, you don't know it. But there's still this wisdom in them that knows there's a different way. There's a way to process the difficult emotions, because they are temporary, they do move through, so that they can spend more time in the joy and in the happiness.
Mm-hmm.
And I find that to be really fulfilling too, to help people through the difficult as well. And I loved what one of my clients said. She told me that she looked at coaching as a week, like a 1 hour weekly wellness retreat for herself. Isn't that
Cool.
a beautiful way of saying it? Like, this
Yeah.
is
And
my
what a great reframe on timing, right?
So it is your 1 hour a week to set up your day, your life, your week to how you want to experience it. What will bring you the most fulfillment, joy, purpose, meaning, contentment, creativity, flow, compassion, all the good stuff that we want to bring into the world.
Yeah. And it's funny because my preference is I like the word content or satisfied more than happy. Happy feels very, I don't know, it feels like the surface on the pond as opposed to the depth of the pond. But that's just my interpretation of the words, you know?
Well, that would make sense because the surface of the pond is fleeting.
Yeah.
It changes regularly. So happiness is almost this fleeting state. Well, it is, it's an emotion. So that's where the deeper way of being, the contentment, it's below the surface. And so I can bring that with me no matter what is happening around me on the surface, that I'm connecting to this deeper sense of meaning, well-being, purpose, and happiness that I take with me. It's like a companion. It's just how I be. It's just how I be in this world, no matter what's happening around me. And then that way I have this confidence to face life's challenges with more ease and grace, that I'm not going to be thrown off as easily and as reactive as I might have once been. By the way, this is all going back to my early stages of mommyhood and what I had to learn, or what the opportunity was for me to learn then. You know, I don't need her to behave in a certain way in order for me to be happy. Like, how can so for me to be content, for me to be at peace or calm, doesn't mean that she's required to behave a certain way. So, that's, a perfect example of why she was such a great teacher to me, that I don't need circumstances to line up perfectly around me. And I don't need people to do exactly what I want them to do in order for me to be content, joy filled, at peace, calm, all the good
stuff. The perfect
stuff.
ownership, right? It's the perfect ownership.
And then there's freedom. There's freedom in that ownership. So now we're finding freedom and maybe a little bit of playfulness. And there's a light now. There's a lightness to being. How, freeing is that? And you discover what's really valuable to you. So for me, it might be freedom, and to somebody else, it might look different. It could be authenticity or ease or whatever that success is, whatever that value is. You determine it, what it is for you, and then how you can bring more of that into your daily life.
Oh, I love that. So much to think about. Let me ask you this other question. So I wanted to ask you, what's the one thing that you took away from coaching with me? What's the one valuable thing that's been the most helpful?
Well, not one thing, Candy. There's been a lot. But if I had to pick one, I would say confidence. And you do talk about, helping coaches find confidence. And I absolutely have with working with you. And specifically, I think you've affirmed how powerful my thoughts and my feelings are in manifesting what it is that I want. And not only that, but also providing me practical ways to do that in a way that does serve my highest and best self.
Great.
And then if I could just add one more thing on the confidence. Coming as a new certified coach, let's say I have a menu of what I can be doing or how I can set up my business or what my niche is and all of that. And let's say there's only 5 things on that menu. Working with you, I realized, there was a second page to that menu. You just open up new possibilities, which is inspirational to me. Like, even from our last coaching sessions, something has been sparked, some creativity, some form of inspiration. And so it's been very valuable working with you.
Thank you. I so appreciate it. And I notice my like I want to move on fast from appreciating the kind words and the good feelings. It's interesting from my perspective. As you're saying these nice things about coaching with me, I'm like, okay, next question, right? I can just feel that that's a place for growth for me to learn to receive these things. So that's super fun as well.
Yes, and savoring the good. Savoring it.
Okay. Last question. I got to read this question. So if you were stranded on a desert island or out in the jungle, what one book would you choose to have with you and why?
That's a tough one for me, Candy. You would see my bookcase behind me.
For those of you who are listening, there's a huge bookcase behind Meg.
It is. Hold on. I think the book I would bring is Eckhart Tolle's The Power of Now. It was pretty transformational. I mean, there's so many. He's one of many on that list of souls who have helped me along my spiritual journey. The reminder that happiness, contentment, life, let's just say life, is only found right here in the now. And that's been a pivotal lesson that I take with me every day. So maybe that one.
Okay, cool. You know, it's funny because I have that book. I have this condition, and I know there's a name for it. I don't know what it's called. I can't remember right now. The condition is the one where you go and you buy all these amazing books, but then you only read about a quarter of them. And then you go back to the bookstore again and you buy some more amazing books. And so my books to be read pile is always growing, even though I always read, but still my books to be read pile is always going. I know there's a name for the condition, but I can't remember what it's called. And I have that book, but I've never read it in all this time, right? Isn't that funny?
Well, first of all, I resemble that condition too. Secondly, books have vibrational frequencies too. And I believe that just having them near us, we still extract some wisdom from it. So I'm glad that you have it and it's on your bookcase or your nightstand or wherever.
Yeah, like I could read it at any time if I wanted to. You'd be surprised all the books I've got. Yeah, so cool. All right. I really enjoyed the conversation. So Meg, I know there's people who are going to really be interested in connecting with you. What's the easiest way for them to get into your world, to meet you, and to find out more about what you do?
People can find me at my website, theintegratedheart.com. I also offer a free connection call for anyone interested in my 12-session Your Wellbeing Coaching Program. And I also post pretty frequently on Instagram, so you can find me there under my name of Meg.Edwards_.
Awesome. I'll make sure that I'll put all those links in the episode notes so that people can just click through and see more about you. And then they can see all about the wonderful things that you're doing. Thanks so much for joining me. And everybody, thanks so much for listening to this episode. And I know you've got a lot out of this conversation. I really appreciate you listening, and I appreciate you being in my world. Thanks again for listening today. Please hop on over to Apple Podcasts and leave a review. Also, I would love to hear from you. Did something that I say resonate? What else would you like to learn about? Click the link in the player and leave a comment on the post. This is going to give me great ideas for future episodes so I can help you best. Join me again next week for more coaching, support, and teaching to help you become the confident coach you are meant to be.